Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian from Whisper Status 74, and this is a full spoiler-free review of Godzilla King of Monsters. It is about 1:45 in the morning. It is June 2nd. The movie just came out a few days ago. Quickly, I want to say thank you to David, who got the tickets, and Sebastian. The three of us went to see the movie tonight. I actually planned on doing the review in the theater or in the parking lot, but it was pretty late. It was the last show of the evening, and this is my take on the film. We talked about this in the theater, and I want to get it out to you guys. Now, I know a lot of you don't watch these reviews. That's okay. Some of my favorite videos are these that we do, where only a few of you guys actually watch them. Godzilla King of the Monsters. Full disclosure, I am a huge fan. I grew up with the Godzilla films. I grew up watching all of them since a little kid, and Thanksgiving was the holiday where those movies were released when I was a kid. They would show them back to back to back to back. So I am a huge fan. Before I get into this review, I want to talk about the 2014 Godzilla quickly and the issues I had with that film as it'll translate to this film. I thought that 2014 was a very good movie. After the Bryan Cranston character disappeared or died in the beginning of that film, spoiler there, the human characters were very weak for me. And I didn't love the constant cutting away from the action to focus on the human characters. I know that's necessary, and I brought up being a fan of the series simply because Godzilla movies have always done that since I was a kid. Weak characters, terrible movies, and then Godzilla shows up, and as soon as you get ready to watch it, they cut away. That's been the way they've always been since I was a kid. 2014 was very much that way and was the weakest part of the film for me. Now, going back and watching Godzilla 2014 before I went to see this one, I really appreciated the animation, what they did with the characters, even the Muto characters. Designs were fantastic. The sound effects, the action, phenomenal. The effects, really, really good. Just the weak characters in that film in 2014, being the actor from, Age of Ultron and then Scarlet Witch, just didn't do anything for me. Didn't care a lot about those characters. And this is just my personal opinion, obviously. So, into King of the Monsters, as this translates to that. This movie, let's just start by design. Again, spoiler-free. King Ghidorah, or as I said when I was a kid, we called him Ghidra. Godzilla, you've seen them all in the trailers. I'm not giving anything away. Rodan, Mothra. The designs of these characters, the animation, the action, unreal. I mean, second to none. Being that you remember, obviously, Game of Thrones, the dragon effects in that, the dragon animations were very, very good. Smaug from The Hobbit. I mean, these are some of the best that we've ever seen, obviously outside of practical effects. These are absolutely stunning. I mean, absolutely stunning. Next level, jaw-dropping. As far as taking these home, HDR on your TVs, the spectral highlights, the effects, the lightning, the fire, the smoke. I mean, dizzying. The action wasn't like Transformers where it was a constant rolling around. It was pretty clear. Not as clear as, say, something like Pacific Rim, which was as deliberate. It was still very, very clear. I mean, jaw-dropping. And again, growing up with these films, it is a dream come true to see these characters on screen, especially Ghidorah, Mothra, Rodan, and Godzilla. Always, you just geek out over it. I mean, it's something that I always wanted to see, and seeing it, I just could not believe. I mean, I literally was stunned on how majestic and amazing they made these characters, how they moved. The sense of scale isn't always translated or well in these movies. The sense of scale was, you really did feel like you were watching something that gigantic. Now, I saw it in the BTX Theater in Trumbull, Connecticut, which is, for you guys that don't know, BTX is like an IMAX, gigantic, Dolby Atmos, and I'm going to go into the sound. Now, the Dolby Atmos mix for BTX, the speakers are out of control, but the sound just thumped. I mean, every step, every explosion, I mean, you could feel it in your bones. The surround was incredible. So this will be an amazing take-it-home mix as far as audio and visual. It is definitely going to be a tour de force once you get it home. Now, there are some soft parts outside. There is some grainy parts, probably a lot like Kong, that you're going to see once you get it home. This movie's amazing looking. I mean, beautiful film. The effects look incredible. Again, each individual creature, especially King Ghidorah, I mean, looks real. Looks real. The movements, realistic looking. Again, very deliberate. Now, David and Sebastian and I were talking in the theaters. I wish I did the review there, but it was getting late. They both liked it a lot. For different reasons, we liked it a lot of the same. We didn't talk a lot about it as it got really, really late. So we'll definitely do a review again, the next movie that we see together. But my take on it, for me, and where the movie gets very weak for me, now again, just personal, is the weak human characters of these films. Now, you have the cast who is well known. You've seen the actor in Friday Night Lights. You've obviously seen the girl from Stranger Things, and you've seen the mom and the dude from, I know, I'm not going to give you all their names, from Game of Thrones. Tywin was in there. A lot of dialogue. Interesting story based on the environment and the Titans. It's all in the trailer. Nothing spoiling there, but it got redundant for me. The dialogue with them, the story. But once the fights got rolling, I really wanted them to just let go of it and let me see the spectacle of the fighting. Now, we talk about story versus substance. Here you had a weak story, and then I just wanted the substance. I just wanted to see them fight, show me them fight. And I think the issue I had with it was still a lot of that cutaway. Still, David and I and Sebastian were in the theater, and there was a scene where you're seeing Godzilla and Ghidorah getting ready to just go at it. The profile was there, and they just had a drop ship get right in the way. And then they pan down. And it made me just... So that happened constantly throughout the movie. Constantly. I mean, it wasn't as bad as in 2014 when Godzilla would roar and it would just cut away. It wasn't as abrupt as that, but it was in throughout the whole movie. I mean, it didn't change. They never really let them get that free-for-all. I mean, the battles were amazing. The fighting, incredible. The sound effects. It's just the human characters. There's some Call of Duty moments. There's soldiers. That stuff has been in all Godzilla movies. It's always been the weakest part of them. I mean, you go back to the original King Ghidorah, Monster X from the 60s and the 70s. It was plagued with the weak characters. It didn't change here. It didn't change here. For me, personally, I think Sebastian and David liked that part a little bit better. For me, though, it really turned me off. I mean, I think David agreed with me a little bit on that. I didn't talk to Sebastian a lot about it, but the three of us collectively really liked the movie. Now, again, full transparency, I am a huge fan, and this is my opinion of it. I can't just give it that pass because of the spectacle of seeing them fight. It is worth seeing for that alone. It's worth seeing in the largest theater with Dolby Atmos, with the most... the best sound you can find, the biggest screen you can find. This needs to be seen in a theater. So in that regard, it is a must-see. Just for the sound, the production, the highlights, the color, the animation is some of the best I've ever seen, period, in any film, in any show, for me, in my history. That's how much I was blown away. For me, the very weak characters dragged it down. There were moments where the movie did drag, again, a lot like a lot of Godzilla movies in the past. There's always that really long period in the middle where it really dragged. Weak characters. Actually, for me, personally, by the end, I just wanted them all to just go away. Either off screen or all explode or whatever. I can tell for me, my personal opinion, and when watching a film, is who am I rooting for? What stories touch, me and that, get me here. And by the end of, or at least by the middle of this film, I really wanted them just to exit stage left and just get out of the movie. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that. If you're watching me for the first time, I know, tell you the truth, I didn't see any reviews before going in. So I'm not sure how this movie's been reviewed. I didn't want to have anything change my thought on it. But for me, very, very weak characters, very, very weak story. Not in regards to the entire story, but the personal story with the main characters. A lot of characters, a lot of different, you had your comedy here and there, which is commonplace in these movies now, wisecracks, things like that. I just at a certain point wanted that to dissipate and let the action just go. Let the effects speak for themselves. David had said maybe the budget really at a certain point you can only show so many monsters on screen. Maybe that is the case. Um, Overall, really, really liked it. Like I said, go see it just to see the spectacle and the effects. I mean, incredible, incredible. I mean, really, really impressed with that. But just keep in mind the story, the characters, even putting, the Stranger Things. Her name escapes me. That really didn't do a lot for me. I wasn't attracted or drawn to their story much at all. And that's normal in these films. But comparing it to something like Pacific Rim, where it had weak characters and it wasn't well acted, once it got down to action and it got down to business, it was down to business. They showed the pilots, and then the fighting was just very uninterrupted. I don't love fast cuts and then pull away. And this movie, unfortunately, is plagued with it. From start to finish, you're constantly being pulled away from the action, and the monsters and the battles are just on the side. I had made a comment in the theater. I hope that they do a special edition where you let me control the camera, because I felt like the point of view, you'd be in the truck looking up between them fighting, and then it would go right to the humans, right back to the humans, right back to the soldiers, right back to her, to him, and then up, and you see somebody get hit and somebody drop, and the monsters and the flames, and then right back to the humans. It just, for me, was distracting, and it pulled me out. So I give it a good rating. I think it's worth seeing for the reasons I had mentioned. It was just hampered by that story for me. To me, in films like this, Godzilla, Transformers, the Alien vs. Predators, all of those films, the new Predator, just the humans need to take a back seat. I've always personally believed that. I may be alone in that. Humans need to take a back seat. Put a few of them in there. You don't need an entire cast. I don't need their backstory. Just put them in and let these guys star in it. Especially with Transformers, those robots have so much personality. You don't need the models and the comedy. You don't need it. It's just not necessary. To me, it just drags the films down, and I don't need the comedy. I don't need all the weak dialogue. And I think even if there was better writing or better dialogue in this film, you just want to get to the fight. I just want to get to it, to seeing this more. And unlike something like Game of Thrones, where I wanted more story, maybe even less dragons, this is Godzilla. Godzilla, just show me Godzilla, show me Rodan. I've been waiting my life to see this on the big screen. And in that regard, it did not disappoint. It had much more action than the 2014 film. So if that bothered you about the first one, then this one is definitely an upgrade. It's an upgrade visually. It's not even close. Godzilla 2014 was very dark, hard to see, make out the details. This is very bright, beautiful. But the same issues that plagued that film, in my opinion, plagued this film. Same thing, weak characters, weak story, and I was pretty tired of it by the middle, and then exhausted by the end of it. But that said, this review is getting long. I really love the film for the simple fact that the Godzilla, King Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, I loved it for that reason. I can't give you anything else without spoiling it. Weak characters, weak story, weak dialogue, and just exhausting human characters were just too much. Especially, really quick, the soldiers in these films. Even Sebastian at the end of the film was like, you just keep showing me guns. You're showing me, machine guns, Call of Duty machine guns that are shooting at these monsters. You keep showing me small arms. It just distracts. But movie was excellent. Thank you so much. Check it out. It's worth seeing in the theater. I thought it was very good, except for the things that I described. I'm not putting a number review on or anything. It's always going to be a go see or not go see. Go see this one. Biggest theater you can. Biggest sound stage you can possibly find. Again, thank you to David for getting us all together and Sebastian for meeting us out. It was great to see it with two other guys that were really, really into it. So special shout out to them. And go see Godzilla King of the Monsters. Just keep in mind, it is not going to be, it's going to have its weak moments and its distracting moments. All right, guys, thank you as always. Go check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm Brian from Whisper Status 74. Thank you so much. Take care.